70 million people are deaf in the world, according to the World Federation of the Deaf. Of the 70 million, only less than 2% can access the gospel. That's why Christian Mission Aid comes in to train and equip deaf pastors and community leaders. I attended one of the seminars in Gong, Kajiado County.
The hearing people will laugh at the deaf people, saying that the deaf people are marrying one another. So after marriage, at night, maybe you are with your wife, both of you are deaf. You go home at night. If someone comes to knock your house, the door of your house, what are you going to do? Some hearing people will say that the man will tell the wife, do this. I have something there outside the door. So when someone is coming at night, you'll press something and then the wife will wake up. So you tie the wife's leg near the door. So when someone knocks, the leg moves. That is what hearing people think about the deaf.
I have a friend who is also a pastor, and so he is deaf. So during the day, he uses his eyes to get to understand what happens in his surrounding. So he focuses on hearing through his eyes. So at night, he narrows down to what he wants to see. And so one day he is caught by a police because he was staggering. And then they were saying that he's drunk. And then he could not even speak. And then he was caught and taken to the police station because they thought he was drunk, but he wasn't. At night, most of the deaf will stagger because of the balance of their ears. And many people have not known that.
I've seen, like in the village, most people think that the deaf people can't preach. Through friends, there's a time we used to talk, and I saw some people thinking that I can't teach. They were shocked. I was shocked too. For example, in the story of Abraham, we start there. There are challenges. People will say, some people say that Abraham was married to two wives. But I would come and explain and say he was indeed married to one wife. The other was not his wife. They will get shocked that a deaf person can also know such an information. Just to add, the government will say that the deaf cannot be police officers. I fail to understand, because I've worked as a government officer. I've also worked in the department of the police. But some people say deaf cannot. Can you say that the deaf cannot march like the police? You know, they need to access all those different opportunities, churches, the police force. You know, when they do mistakes, they get arrested, but the police cannot understand the deaf convicts because they do not have a deaf person within the police force. So we need to mainstream so that they can understand. They also need to understand sign language. My call to be a minister of God in Kajiado, the Maasais, the hearing people who are Maasais, they will say, okay, deaf girls can't be married. Deaf men cannot also get married. The deaf boys and girls are supposed to be kept hidden in the houses. The deaf people cannot go to graze. They cannot herd the cattle because when a lion is coming, being deaf, they'll not hear and they'll be killed. So they are not allowing the deaf children to go. Some do not even allow the deaf to get married. A big number of cows and cattle are given as dowry. If it's a deaf girl who is getting married, they don't demand for many because they see a deaf as incomplete. For instance, I've married a Maasai lady. I did my wedding and I paid the exact dowry that it's supposed to be paid. And so I saw that these are thoughts that people have. They think the deaf cannot the cattle, they can't get married.
Something else, sometimes you find people with blue-eyed, most of them are deaf.
Limited resources in the deaf community has led to the high illiteracy levels, and that's why the training of deaf community leaders and pastors has come in handy. This year's theme being Where Resources Meet the Need, participants are drawn from all over Kenya, and the seminars are conducted yearly.
We have seen these deaf persons come from a point of being illiterate to a point of knowing how to read and write, and even be able to write Bibles and other books, and therefore the level of literacy is decreased by day, and that level of these deaf knowing how to read and write, that literacy level is becoming higher and higher every day.
So number one, so when they stopped worshiping God, so when the Israelites were planning a warfare with other enemies.
Christian Mission LCMA is a non-profit making charity organization founded in 1986, and it focuses on creating sustainable change in East Africa.
Christian Mission Aid is a non-profit charitable organization that was founded in 1986 by Larry and Debbie Kitchell. It focuses on creating sustainable change in East Africa to empower communities to be self-sustaining and to be able to build their communities. We feel that Christian Mission Aid is a ministry on time, and the niche that it serves is a very important because it fills a felt need, especially for those pastors and church leaders in the marginalized areas who more or less will not get an opportunity to study and learn the Word of God, and therefore are prone to possibly even misleading their followers. But through our programs, they are able to be anchored in the Word of God, and from there, some of them actually go into theological school with our trainings as a basis for their training.
CMA has been championing the needs of the deaf community as one of the marginalized groups in Kenya, and creating and maintaining relationships after mobilization through churches and other networks is its core undertaking.
Well, one class can take 2 years with intervals of a week-long seminar, 2 per year. And so we do 4 in 2 years, and they graduate. They are certified, and we commission them to go to their local churches and their communities and do what they are called to do.
In the book of 1 Kings 3:1-5, and then another book, 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 29 all the way to verses 34.
The one-week seminar that has been conducted in Ngong, Kajiado County has been termed a success, and participants who are also graduates after 2 years of training could not hide their joy.
Way back, say 6 years ago, that was my first time to get my experience with CMA. When I got a call to come and study the Bible, I had the first interest as a student more. I joined the theological school for the hearing around Gong area, but there was some failures there because there was no provision of a sign language interpreter. So I couldn't get one in my class. And you see, getting a sign language interpreter who was devoted and saved was also difficult. So I heard that CMA called me, and I had the motivation, and CMA has really helped me so much. When we began the training, I learned both the Old and the New Testament and the events that took place there. It enabled me to get an experience that I'd never attained before. And so CMA has really helped me to get the strength so that I could develop my Christian life. As well, we have different things. I can't quite mention everything, but I can say that we have transformation from the deaf. As my brother Charles has explained, he has a church in Masai Land. He has his congregants there. he administers the program there. That is what CMA has been wanting all that long. It has always wanted to build the first deaf church. We have one in Kiambu County. There is no organization, entity or institution which has ever come to build a church for the deaf like what CMA did. So it has given many churches opportunities. So right now, you can see the work of our hands.
The experience of growing up deaf in a hearing world could not be narrated better.
In my family, it's a Catholic family. So they used to pray regularly on Sundays, but I never used to attend because of no interpreter. But in my heart, I felt like I never really got the interest. Sometimes I'll go to a seminary that the Catholics were and get the teachings from the interpreters. And then when I went back home, I'll see challenges because in our family, no one could communicate with me because there was no interpreter, or they never understood sign language. But whenever I went to school, I could understand because in our hearts, we were deaf are one because we communicate using sign language. So when I went to high school, by good luck, there was a deaf preacher who was preaching about the word of God. So I learned a lot of things, and spiritually I grew. So I went to Karen Technical Training Institute. I was taught, that's a technical institution where I got trained. I also grew spiritually. I went outside to look for employment. We used to remember God during that time. And by good luck, I got a leadership position to serve the deaf, but it was on a volunteering basis. I used to teach them about the word of God. So there was the leader and there was the vice leader.
The world has a lot of misconceptions about the deaf, including they can't drive, laugh, or even attend to a crying child. The conference could not come to an end without recognizing the CEO of CMA, Deborah Kichi, who appreciated the input of those who made the training a success.
We're here at another leadership pastors training for our deaf pastors and leaders of Kenya. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors and our partners and the donors that are making this seminar possible for them. All that you have done to make this seminar possible for the deaf pastors and the deaf leaders. They appreciate it so much for the opportunity to come and be able to be part and take gain the knowledge and the teaching from these seminars.
Reporting for Mwangaza News from Ngong, Kajiado County, Eva Juma.